Welcome to the Probate Mastermind podcast. These episodes are recorded live once a week and are hosted by the alltheleads.com coaches. Agents, investors, and wholesalers join the coaches for everything from marketing tips, sales psychology, live deal analysis, transaction engineering, advanced real estate strategy, and personal development. You will learn to get more listings, more deals, and find financial freedom by listening to these episodes. Be sure to catch show notes at alltheleads.com/podcast and join our free Facebook Mastermind community, All the Leads Mastermind.
Welcome to all of our illustrious agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, March 25th, 2021. And this is Mastermind podcast number 320. No new real news items to share with you this week other than look for an email from Bruce about the upcoming Foundations program, and there's a good chance that everybody will be eligible to participate in that one. So look for that email in the next few days. And we have 2 in the queue, guys. We got plenty of room for more, so hit *6 and hit 1. Tim, anything you want to say before we get started?
No, sir.
Not a word. All right, let's go to the first caller. First up is phone number ending in 1556. You're up first.
Hello, everyone. This is William May with Century 21 out here in Los Angeles, California. How's everybody doing today?
Doing great, William. How are things in L.A.? You're back open for business, I hope, completely?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just crazy out here, but we're slowly opening up. And it seemed like just about everybody got the vaccinations. It's more easier to get the vaccine now. So
yeah, that's great.
We'll see in the next couple months.
Yeah, Florida just went to 18 and over, so that's good news. If you can get one, we don't want to get political here, but boy, if you don't have any problem with them and you can get one, go get it. It's good for you, and it's, for the most part, good for everybody. So what can we do for you, William?
Been in real estate for a minute, basically a cold caller. I love making calls, but I want to upgrade my business into the probate field because I like helping people. And one thing, I just started in the probate, and everybody and their mama is like, oh, new leads. And Bill Gross, he kind of like, in a way, hey, check out all the leads. So I was like checking a couple videos. So basically, I'm not going to go after the new probates. I like going after less competition, the low-hanging fruit, the older ones. So one of my first questions is, what is the script you would use for the older probates that's 6 months to 2 years out or more? And then my second question is, what is the difference between the Foundations class and the Probate Mastery class? Maybe I could take those to learn more about probate. I basically know the mechanics, but I want to dive real deep into the prospecting part, the mechanics of contacting the client, sending them a thank you card, call them a week later. Hey, this is William May with Century 21. Did you receive my thank you card? I'm pretty good with the regular version of prospecting, but I would like to get the probate version.
Sure, and I'm going to defer you to Bruce for the script and the role play portion. One thing I would say, William, I could not agree with you more. The value of the older leads. I still invest, and I work 1 to 2 year old leads, and I do extremely well. If you're investing and you're an agent, I would encourage you, don't do one or the other. Do both, because you will, the 6 month year old leads, you'll have zero competition, but you are going to miss the ones that are ready to do something right away. That would just be, I would say, you've got that initial script down, so use that, but don't. Is there a reason? Do you have such a volume of leads? That's why you want to wait and work them, or what's the reason for waiting on the new ones?
I don't know if I should say this. I'm subscribed to Probate Data, so just this morning we had 350-something leads, and L.A. County is pretty big, not to mention Riverside and Orange County. That was another couple hundred. So I don't know if that was like basically a backup because of everything was shut down and then everything's starting to come across. But that I'm like, hey, if I go back, it's probably less competition. And then whatever issues they had in the beginning, maybe they worked it out, because I know from listening to some of the calls of, hey, provide value, cleanup crew, this, that, and that, and the other. But I haven't set those people in place yet. So until I do work the older leads, but also I still, since I'm in the business, have investors in my pocket if they need to sell now for quick cash. But my fiduciary duty is for the estate to get the most money possible.
Yep. Hey, William. So Bruce here.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, how's it going? One
Good.
of the things that I'm gonna say is don't necessarily feel bad or feel like you can't go after newer leads without your team put together. A lot of times the offer means a whole lot. I'll work with probably nine out of 10 people without them taking me up on the services that my full team offers, and that 10th person might need those services. So if you don't have your entire team put together, I wouldn't necessarily let it hold you back from pursuing the newer leads, just because most of them it's just simply a value add that a lot of people aren't ready to take, mainly because they're dealing with their own stuff. They're busy, they've got a lot of personal items in the house, and they might not want a stranger helping them haul stuff off or clean the house up. It's still good to offer, though. The other thing that I'm going to say is, I'll repeat what Jim said, is the older leads, yes, absolutely go after those. There's really no competition. I've found that so let me say it this way. What I consider to be a short-term real estate transaction in the probate space is less than 18 months, okay? It doesn't mean that you're going to get
less than 18 months.
Yeah, definitely. And by short term, what I mean are families that are planning to sell real estate. A lot of times, I call it under 18 months because if they have a plan to sell real estate, they're definitely going to do something inside of 18 months. And 18 months is on the outside of that short-term window. The median for the short-term window is really 4 to 8 months. Between 4 and 8 months. By the time you get to the end of 8 months, maybe 9, you're really only going to have 20-25% of anyone that was planning to sell that hasn't sold yet. So, yes, we're calling them low-hanging fruit, but really you've burned through a lot of – yeah, it is in the follow-up. You've burned through, if you're going after people that are older than 9 months old, no competition, but it's only about a quarter of the people that we're going to sell that are left in that window. So I would probably not go quite as far out as a year. I know Jim goes after those. I certainly get business from leads that are older than a year old. I want you to hear me clear. I'm not saying don't go after old leads that are a year plus old, but just know that there's not as many left by the time you get to a year.
Oh, okay. So like the prime timeline is probably like 4 to 8 months after they get their letters of testamentary. When you're calling through them, you see exactly where they are at the process and if they have any issues that you can help, because as a real estate agent or an investor, you're there to help and build that rapport.
Yep, exactly. Build the rapport. This is the reason that I love the probate space so much is the majority of competition, and I'm doing my best as a coach and trainer to change this in the industry, at least with our subscribers, but the majority of your competition when you are prospecting a probate list is going to quit at the 2 to 3 months marks. And as an investor and as a realtor, I like that because I'm in it for that 4 to 8 month window. And if my competition hits them just as hard as I do for 2 months and then they drop out, then I'm going to be the only person that's left standing in the 4 to 8 months time frame. So that's when the majority of your conversion is going to come.
I just closed the deal that I've been from a cold call that I've been following up with for 4 years. I just have systems in place and just follow up every 3 months or have the email or a letter or something like that. Contact them different times in your database. Sometimes it's just hard to keep up with the follow-up, but the money's in the follow-up.
The money's absolutely in the follow-up. And families, if you call them on month 1, they might have a conversation with you, but a lot of times they're not necessarily ready to open up to you yet. This is still fairly they're emotionally raw. There's challenging situations and circumstances, and they're a little bit overwhelmed, or at least they will be, and we need to keep touching them and using those initial months to build rapport. Now, you mentioned something in the
role play right quick?
Okay. What I would say on role play is see if you can jump to it's coming out for everyone because you're not a subscriber right now. For everyone in two weeks, we're going to make it available to join our role play call. This call is normally going to be Q&A related. With that said, I would like to give you some dialogue that you might want to use on these probates? Because I know that's one of the things that you were looking for, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you had introduced yourself just in the sample greeting that you gave. You'd introduced yourself as William with, I think it was Century 21, so you put the name of the real estate company in. With probate, I'm normally going to encourage people to just call as William. I just call as Bruce. Obviously, we have, as agents, we do have to disclose that we're agents, and especially if you're a realtor, you've got some disclosure rules, but I don't disclose that in the beginning because I don't want them to draw a conclusion about what I can and can't help with until I've had more of a conversation with them. So I'm Bruce, and I'm calling because I work with families who've inherited real estate. Or Bruce, and I'm calling because I help families go through the probate process. So quick summary. And then you want to give them this feeling of control by essentially saying, look, what I do might not be relevant to you. Could I take a quick minute, tell you a couple of things I offer, and then I'll let you decide if what I do is going to benefit you or completely be irrelevant. Okay, they feel a lot of control because what we want to get to the elevator pitch. And to get there, I believe that you have to summarize what you do in a really short sentence. So that's the words that come after because. And then you need to let them know that you're not there to lay a heavy-handed sales pitch on them. And that's why I say I'm not sure if what I do is going to be irrelevant to you or beneficial. At that point, I'm just simply asking for a little bit of their time, maybe a quick minute, just to see if what we do might benefit them. And I tell them, look, if it doesn't, at the end of that, just tell me. I'll respect it, and I have no problem. And normally you're going to get someone who's pretty open to hear what you have to say, what you offer, and they're normally going to at least give you some follow-up at the end of your elevator pitch that comes next. Okay. Now, I'm not doing this dialogue justice because yesterday I literally took 2 hours to teach what I just gave you in about 2 minutes. So when the role play call comes out and it's available for everybody that's listening, please jump in on one of those because I think it would really help. But that's essentially the way that I greet myself. And if you do it that way, if it's an old lead, I'd say I'm calling because I help families that have inherited real estate. If they're a new lead, I'm going to say I'm calling because I help families through probate. So that's the only variation that I'm going to give.
How can I help?
Phone call is the greeting. Yep.
Okay. And then add to the end of that is like, how can I help?
Yeah, really you want to get to the elevator pitch at that point because they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what you do. So I'm going to ask, how can I help after they've given me permission to explain what I do. So what I gave you is everything up to the point of explaining what you do. So you really want to have maybe a minute-long summary of what you do, and then ask the how can I help afterward.
Okay. Like a system.
Yep.
Okay. Now, my second question was, what is the difference between the foundations class and the probate mastery class? Mastery
was our original class. It takes you through, and I'm going to have Jim or Tim chime in here after this. Mastery takes you through a longer process where you start to really understand not just dialogue, but you understand the probate process, you understand which team members exactly you need. It goes into detail, and I think the last mastery class was something like 16 hours long, so you can imagine it goes into great detail. Foundations is really meant for those people that don't have 16 hours to take that class, and they need a couple of hours to get the basics down. So it's essentially
now the communication and the follow-up, or basically really the foundation of what is probate, because I pretty much have that covered.
Yeah, it's not what is probate at all. We go over how to market to a probate lead, how to communicate with a probate lead, so the dialogue, and how to build your team. So those are the categories that we cover in Foundations.
Oh, okay. And does that one has a price to it, or is that free, or how's that one work?
For our subscribers, if you're a subscriber of our leads, we give it for free. We haven't offered it to non-subscribers until probably starting in about 2 weeks we'll offer it, and there's going to be a really small fee for it if you're a non-subscriber. Really small, affordable. Yep.
Oh, okay. Look forward to that. Love to get that.
And William, I was just going to say, just the fact that you like to cold call, foundations is what you need. Probate Mastery, it was a course that was much more graduate degree level, and it was, but it was more for the people that want to know everything before they do anything, the people that are very, very high analytical. Honestly, foundations is going to be more than sufficient for 95% of our subscribers. And so I would take that first. I think you'll be a better fit there. The other thing I was going to say to you, I know you're not a subscriber right now, and I understand what you're trying to do by waiting 6 months. When you're getting 400 or 500 leads, you're trying to cull the herd before you and contact the survivors. You might want to take a look at our Probate Plus product, because that would allow you to right away see what real estate is owned. And you might, if it's a $5 million listing, you might not want to wait 6 months. You might want to call them right away. It gives you options. And also, you could eliminate the ones that don't appear to have real estate. So you could probably accomplish the same thing and reduce the number of potential people to call, and then you'd be maybe in a better position to decide which ones you want to call right away and which ones you might want to wait on. Just an option. It's on the alltheleads.com on the top of our page, top right-hand corner. There's a tab that really explains Probate Plus. You might want to take a look at that.
Okay. Yeah, that was another question, because I know you offer leads and stuff. If you had a la carte system where you can, because I like your custom website, and maybe upgrade to the marketing to the leads. And that sounds like the Probate Plus, where it filters the leads and then you can market to them as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. What I'll do, because our queue's starting to fill up, I'll have one of our salespeople reach out to you right after this call and kind of walk you through all the options, all the foundation and all the carte options. But yeah, as far as the website and the mail, that's something we can definitely do for you. And they'll explain Probate Plus to you also.
Oh, okay. Hey, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Y'all bring very much value to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All of a sudden, we got a full queue. Next up is Fed. You're on board. What's up?
Hey, guys. One update and a question. Update is regarding that PR that we've been discussing on the last couple of calls. Much to my surprise, this is the same PR that I then took the approach you suggested, which was I may have come off too strong and there's no pressure and all that stuff. And she communicated, no, it's just about getting my brother to meet with us so we don't have to meet more than once. Long story short, I drove by the house the other day just to get an idea of what its value would be, took a picture so that I could send her an email. And then when I checked tax record, it shows that on February 19th, which was about 10 days after she and I had started interacting, but before she told me, hey, it's just about getting my brother to get to the property, they sold the house to an investor. I saw that there was a transfer of title. Yeah, on February 19th. Now, the strange thing is that the seller name on tax record is not the PR. And in addition to that, it's really unfortunate. I ran comps. They sold for about $125,000 under what market value is.
How do you know that it wasn't just a transfer inside of maybe a trust or something? Was it definitely an investor name?
Yeah, it shows like investment company LC. I actually have it in front of me. So let's see. It says it's called it's a management company, LLC. And so, the only strange thing is that then when you look at the actual lead, once it arrives on all the leads, she already communicated to me that she does not have an attorney. So I'm just a little confused, because wouldn't she have to go through probate prior to making this sale?
Depends whether she has full authority or partial authority.
Gotcha.
If she had full authority, then she could. But honestly, I'm going to encourage you to still communicate with her. She may have just been lying to you and dragging you out the whole time. It's possible. But it's also possible that this was an interprobate transfer where it's being set up and it's into an LLC or a company that she still has ownership or influence over. So we don't know exactly what it is. It does sound like it's likely that she just put you off because she didn't want to tell you that they were selling it. It sounds very likely that that's the case. But just because you see a transfer doesn't always mean that it's a transfer to an unrelated third party. It might have been a transfer to a related person or entity.
Got it. Okay.
Look the corporation up. Go look the corporation up on the state of California's
that's true.
commerce site.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll do that. And then just question about financial advisors. I went ahead and, as you suggested, just going on social media platforms and just through my sphere, just said, hey, looking for financial advisor here in reputable or reliable financial advisor. And I got a lot of answers. Now, the only thing is, most people ask, what kind of financial advisor are you looking for? There's so many that come in different shapes and sizes. Are you talking retirement planning, stock investment and option trading strategies, or real estate management? As far as the financial advisor that we would want on our team, what are we looking for? A specific one too? Because I have calls set up with a few of them, and I'm just trying to understand maybe what questions I should be asking them to see if they're the right fit for the team. Does that make sense?
I think you're probably looking for the real estate. What was the option with real estate?
Oh, those are just a few options that people who are not financial advisors wrote down. I think they wrote there's some are stock market investments, some are option trading strategies, which obviously I would say no. Real estate management or retirement planning. Like
I would real estate management. Go with real estate management and retirement planning. Retirement planning is probably a little bit of a better fit for us, but the real estate management planners, those you could really make a lot of headway with those relationships. And then what you're just going to ask, honestly, you just want to understand their business. Look, this is not for my money, but I work in the real estate space, and I have a lot of people who've either inherited money or they ask me for connections with financial planners and advisors. Could I ask you to tell me a little bit about your business? And if you feel like it's a good fit and you want to go into probate details with them, go into probate details and ask if they'd be interested in your referral. They're always going to say yes. And then you say, and as I'm building this out, I could really use a connection with a good estate planning attorney or two. Who do you know? So,
I think, Pat, I think you're going to find that a good percentage of the estate planning attorneys also do probate. They try to set up, if an attorney's doing trusts, living trusts, and that kind of thing, he's probably doing probate also. And he's encouraging people to set up the trust, but if they don't do it and don't have the trust, he's willing to handle the probate. Those two kind of go well together. So even if they're not doing probate, it's a pretty easy transition.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The other thing I was going to say is that you should define with them when you're on the phone with them. Say, so let me first tell you a little bit about what the average person is going to look like that might be seeking financial advice, and come up with a story in your own mind about what your average person is going to potentially net out of a probate transaction. And if you said to them, this is somebody, my average customer that we're looking for to deal with is somebody who may come out of a financial transaction with maybe $100,000 that they didn't have and may not have any financial planning at all in place, because typically that's a lot of what you're going to run into. It's a first-time person who may not have ever had any kind of financial planning. So describe your client and let them tell you what they would propose to service a client like that.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, no, that's smart. Okay, guys, again,
all right, sir,
you
appreciate it. Thanks as always.
Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. All right, 3 more in the queue. Next up is phone number ending in 4256. You're up next.
Hey, how you doing? Hopefully you can hear me. This is Norm. I'm a fairly new subscriber. I guess I've been since September. I have a client that is interested in purchasing a home from an estate. However, it has not gone through probate yet. Is it possible for us to buy that home before it actually goes through probate, and the money or the proceeds for the home go into an escrow account?
Norm, which state are you in? This is probably going to make a difference.
Yeah, sure, Missouri.
Okay. I don't happen to know exactly what the laws are there. There are a lot of states that real estate does not have to go through probate, and I don't know about your state. I was hoping that maybe it would be one that I was familiar with the laws, but I want you to know, and other people listening, that sometimes real estate does not have to pass through probate, and normally if it doesn't pass through probate, it's normally going to at least need to be open, and then you take the real estate out of open probate, you're essentially having them apply to not put the real estate into the probate, and they can take it out. Now, it's going to be a better question for an estate planning or a probate-specific attorney in your state, but there's a good likelihood that you could go ahead and sell that, and the majority of states around the country, you could go ahead and sell, the proceeds go into the estate, and then they settle probate separately. So the heirs aren't going to get their money until probate is settled, but at least...
Norm, have you made contact with one of the heirs or with the likely personal representative? Do you have any contact on the seller's side?
There has been contact made. As a matter, this is a client of mine, and they actually were going to buy the property before the person passed away. They had actually signed a letter of intent and actually started to do some work on the property. And then the attorney came in and said, you can't have it now because it's now going to go through probate.
I see. And so do you have direct contact with the heirs, or are you just dealing through the attorney?
We do have direct contact with the heirs, yes.
Okay, because the good news is they have an attorney, and it sounds like they've determined that they need to file probate. So you could have your buyer write up a contract, submit it to the seller and or the attorney, and just put closing to occur within 30 days of completion of probate or the property being removed from probate. You could still execute and submit a contract to get the process started and show them that you're serious. And I think I would probably, if you haven't done that already, have you had a conversation with the attorney and he knows that they have an intention to buy?
No, as a matter of fact, I just heard about this the other day, and I was dying for you guys to be on this call so that I could talk to you.
That'd be my first step, because that attorney is going to have a fiduciary to, like a realtor, present all offers. He's going to have an obligation to pass that interest on to the seller and let him know. And and at that point, I think you could ask the question that Bruce posed. Just ask him, do we have to complete the probate process, or can we get the court to release the sale prior? But either way, I would submit the contract. And when I'm making an offer on a probate, I just put in there, I know in Florida the real estate can be carved out. I don't know whether the seller's willing to do it or not often, or whether the attorney is going to go along with it. So I just put a clause in there to that effect, closing within 30 days of completion of probate or 30 days of receiving court approval for the sale. Put that contingency and leave the closing open-ended. That way you don't, if it does take 6 months, you don't have to keep going back and getting the contract extended. It's ongoing until one of those two events occur.
Yeah, but there's some other things that you probably need to find out as well. One of them is, was there a will in this case?
There was not.
Okay, and is it the will of all of the potential heirs to sell the house? Do they all want to sell it?
Only one heir, and the answer is yes.
Okay, and are they willing to sell it for what your client originally offered as the letter of intent?
I don't know the answer to that question. That's a great question to ask.
That's a great place to start, because if they're not, then do you have a copy of that original letter of intent?
Not in my hands.
Okay, you should probably put the letter of intent, the attorney, and the only heir together, and at least do a conference call and say, look, here's the deal. I've got my buyer. They actually did some work here, and we're not trying to put a mechanic's lien on it. And I would leave that in the air when I said that, but laying out the fact that already work has been performed and they had tacit approval to do this, and we're not trying to do anything other than to help here. We still like to buy the house. Let the attorney tell you what the next steps are, because if the heir that wants to sell the house is appointed as the PR, then all you have to do is await whatever process is necessary to get that done. Let the attorney answer your question. If they're willing to sell it for the dollars that was originally offered on the letter of intent, and there's nothing else to tie up funds in the probate, then eventually they'll get the house anyway. But put the attorney and the buyer, the owner together in a conference call and get your answers before you spin your wheels any further.
I think a good scenario in here would also be for me to consult with my personal probate attorney to make sure that I'm asking the right questions here in Missouri.
Yep, sure. Yeah. That'd be good too as well.
And as you're doing that, this is more for future deals, but as you're doing that, make sure that you really understand the process of, because this is truly the case in several states. Some states will not let real estate title transfer until probate is closed. So you need to understand whether your state is one of those states. Other states will let you sell the real estate during probate, and other states let you carve it out altogether, and the heirs get their money whether probate's still open or not. So ask the attorney which one of those three scenarios Missouri fits into, and that'll help you structure not only this deal, but any future deal that you're running into.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't involved in this in the very beginning. I got pulled into it just because they found out what I was doing, and I want to help them if I possibly can because it's just a better business as we move forward. So I appreciate all your feedback.
Hey, Norm, you said something real quick there. How did they find out what you were doing? Obviously you made that known somehow, but how did they find out that you were doing probate?
If you guys follow Grant Cardone, it's called Promote. I tell everybody what I do.
Good. See, that's a classic case. We've said that before on the calls. Don't be a secret agent. You let your sphere of influence. Let everybody know what you're doing. They may just think of you as Grant who sold my house, and they may think of this situation as completely different. So I just wanted to point out, good job doing that. Congrats.
And one of the things that I just learned is I follow a lot of acronyms. OPM, we all know what that means, other people's money. I found one the other day. It's called OPC, other people's content. And if you want to get known for things, you don't have to use your own content. You can just create other people's content. But I'll tell you the one I found yesterday that I think is probably the best that I've heard of ever. It's OPS, other people's stages. Get involved with every opportunity that you can to get in front of a group of people and somebody else and let them build the promotion, and then you come in and then share what you do. And so by using other people's stages, you can really go a long way.
So you're essentially photobombing other people's presentations. You're just sneaking in there, and I like that.
Well, they'll give you permission to do it.
When you're very forceful, you usually get invited on stage.
That's great, Norm. Good stuff, buddy. Thank you. We appreciate you. All right, next up is phone number ending in 7369. You're up next.
This is Blake from Will County.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're going good to be here. First question is, you've addressed this a couple of times on the call, but I want to make sure that I understand correctly. I was looking for the Wednesday night call yesterday. I've done probate mastery. I've gotten historical leads in the past, but I'm not a monthly subscriber. So would I have had to been a monthly subscriber to be invited to the previous Wednesday foundations class?
Yes, if you were a current subscriber, you can attend those classes. I don't normally send the recordings of those foundations classes to anyone who hasn't registered for that particular class. If you aren't currently a subscriber, the next class that comes out in about 2 weeks, I'm expecting that anyone who's not getting our leads can register for it for a very reasonable fee. It's not going to be expensive at all. And, of course, if you sign up and want to get some leads, then we'll give it to you for free.
Gotcha. Okay. I have two scenarios that I wanted to just make sure that my thought process is what's worked historically. The first one is I called the PR the other day. She was at work, but she had mentioned that she was essentially in quicksand. She said I gave her a quick rundown of the list of services and value that our team could provide, and she said she wasn't interested at this time. So my approach, of course, is to call her back in the evening when she's not at work, but I wanted to hear from you guys. So I know we've been over this type of scenario numerous times, but I'd like to jog my memory about what would be the best approach to get her out of that quicksand and thinking about meeting with me or choosing to meet with me to further along the process and then, of course, reduce her stress in the long run.
Jim, you want to go first, or you want me to go?
No, please.
The ultimate thing is working someone through a psychological process of getting ready to meet with you or being open to meeting with you. And you could always just say, hey, I completely get it. Talk to you later. Maybe I'll follow up, click, and then call them again in a month and hope they answer. And I've certainly done that. But the best thing to do, and those of you who came to the Foundations role play yesterday are probably like crawling out of your skin hoping that you can answer. The best thing to do is go ahead and start working her through that process on the call where she just gave you that big fat objection. I'm not ready to do anything yet. And that's a great objection. I have no problem with it. The truth is she's not saying I'm never going to sell the house. So in her mind, it's just a way of getting you off of the phone. So what I teach you to do is go ahead and validate it and repeat back to her what she's really saying. Not what she said, but what she's really saying. And what she's really saying is that I'm not looking for help right now. She's not saying I don't need help right now. I'm never going to need help. She's just saying I'm not looking for help right now. So I would just say it sounds to me like you're not looking for help right now. Get her to affirm that. Now you've validated it and you've positioned yourself on the same side as her. And at that point, I just follow up with a quick, and if that ever changes in the future, do you think we could keep in touch? Would you mind taking my name and number down? She's going to say yes. I want everybody to know she's probably not really writing your name and number down. At least She's pretending to, though. And before you give your name and number, say, if you don't mind my asking, before I give my number, are you kind of leaning toward holding on to the real estate long term, or is that something you guys are eventually going to be selling? Now, where you stand, or where she stands with regard to real estate, on that initial call, what your follow-up plan needs to be. Because there is a point in calling everyone whether they have real estate or not, and helping people whether they have real estate or not, but at least now you can decide what your follow-up plan is going to be based on the potential business that you will or won't get out of that lead. Okay. Another way that you could do it is to simply say, do you mind, after you've gotten real estate information and after you found out just a little bit more, you've worked her further in that phone conversation, just a little bit more, you want to say, do you mind if I make a proposal? I know that you're not looking for help right now. I know that you're not ready to sell real estate right now, but I think it would probably be very beneficial and help you in the long run, probably save you many hours, dozens of hours of time, if I could just take a look at the property and give you a list of things that you can do and in what order you should be doing them. And if you decide that you want me to handle some of that, great. If not, no problem. And then say, I've got some time next week. Could we meet? Okay. If she says no, don't push it any further, but you've got to get to the point where you're making that appointment proposal.
And I was going to add, Bruce, I've heard you say before, and this might not be your first response, but it might, if you get stonewalled with that same response a couple times. I've heard Bruce teach before, hey, I understand you're not ready, but if you were ready, what would you most need the help with? Or what would be the first thing that you would do? Just because it's acknowledging your objection, but ignoring it politely, and asking her to identify the one thing that she most needs help with if she were ready. I love that because it's a very disarming way to handle it. So try that also.
Yep. Hopefully that helped.
All right,
yeah,
sir.
And that's that. I have one more, but I think you were just hitting on it. Bruce was just hitting on it at the end there. This other PR, she's ready. She is ready to start. She has a niece who's an heir who's not emotionally ready to go through the house yet. And so my plan was to get the PR to think about, okay, even though the niece is not ready, let's go ahead and get your plan together with the real estate so that when she does finally go through and collect her valuables, that you'll have everything ready to go and you won't have to waste any extra time. To me, that sounds good. I'm sure that's a pretty good approach, but I'm curious what you guys would think about or do in that scenario as well.
So exactly what you just said, what I want to steer away from for the most part, and there are people that do this masterfully well, and so you might be one of those people. You said, let's get your plan together. Generally, I'm not going to use language like that. If somebody is resisting you already and you take an assertive position. I love assertion, but if you take the assertive position with language, let's do this, and you need to do that, they'll resist you even more. So what I want to ask leading into that statement and that value proposition that you just made is, would you be open-minded to getting your plan together now so that you can save time and money when you are ready? And who's going to say no to that? A couple of people. I've had people say no to that, but we as a human race consider ourselves open-minded whether we are or not. And if you ask someone if they're open-minded to something, 90% of the time they're going to say yes, because saying no, they're admitting to themselves that they're a closed-minded individual. Okay, so instead of let's do this, let's ask if they are open-minded to doing it, and then add a benefit to going through with your proposal if they say yes.
Gotcha. Like such as maximize the value of the estate or maximize the total.
Yeah, normally things come down to stress and money. Can I ask you a quick question? Would you be open-minded to maybe meeting in a week or two and just creating a plan? I know you're not ready. I'm not going to ask you to be ready, but creating a plan so that you could, number one, make sure that you and your sister, I can't remember if it's sister or cousin, keep more money out of the estate. And number two, it would probably save you many dozens of hours of time in the long run. Okay, so I just listed the benefits, and the open-minded question is tied to a meeting. Now, I haven't written that down. I'm the type of person that needs to sit down and write out, a lot of people are, write out a dialogue, kind of bullet points. So I'm just going to encourage you to sit down and start with open-minded. Number two, move to what you're asking them to do. And number three, list the 2 or 3 benefits of doing that, taking that action that you've asked them to take.
Sounds great. That's perfect.
All right. Thank you, sir. We have two more in the queue. That should take us up nicely to the top of the hour. Next up is phone number ending in 2531. You're up next.
I just had a question on the seller finance, second one this week. I had Bruce on the call. If they have a mortgage on the property and I'm wanting to see if they want to seller finance, does that work the same way? We just make the offer. If they accept, they would pay the bank off and then seller finance the remainder. Is that how that goes?
Yeah, Bruce, go ahead. I was going to jump in. It depends. Again, it may depend on your state and how cooperative your or their attorney is. The mortgage probably has a due on sale clause, but if they have the money to pay it off, sure. But you could do a wraparound mortgage. That's probably the best way to do it. You execute a new mortgage between you and the seller. It starts today, and within that, you pay off the existing mortgage. And there's some benefits to you doing that because an older mortgage, more of it is going towards principal. You could buy that house subject to the first mortgage and do a second. In either case, get a real good CYA letter. If you're going to do either of those, you want a CYA letter in the very, very unlikely event that the lender calls the note due. You want to make sure they understand that's a very remote possibility. And for example, I buy those still to this day. I do subject to, and my title company will do it because, first of all, my sister owns the company, but they will do it for and they'll do it for a sophisticated investor. They don't like to do it for a homeowner that might not understand what they're getting themselves into. So, and Bruce, I hope that's the logistics of it. Did you have another answer for that, Bruce?
It's not another answer. It's actually pretty much in line with that. Let's assume that you're doing a subject to and you are leaving that first mortgage in place. Just as Jim said, everybody needs to know what happens in the unlikely event that the mortgager calls the note due. I don't want to get way into the weeds on this, but let's say you're leaving the first mortgage in place. A way to do that would probably be to set up something like a land trust, move the property and ownership over to the land trust, and then assign yourself as the beneficiary of that land trust. You take over payments. You actually would pay a third-party mortgage servicer who then makes sure that the former owner is paid their due and that the original lien holder mortgage company is paid what they're owed. And then you just make payments to the land trust, and they divvy up the money from there. That's the way to do it if the mortgage is not getting paid off. I would say it's best to try to pay that mortgage off, but a lot of times it's just not possible. They might owe $60,000 and all you're giving them is a $15,000 down payment or something, in which case they would need to do a subject to, where you set up a land trust or some type of trust and then pay a third-party servicer.
So let me ask this question. So there's a little bit of rehab. Would I be better off getting a private lender, giving her offer price? I don't know. If I was to do that and just buy it outright or from a private lender, how would the mortgage get paid off in that scenario? And then she would be paid off right after the mortgage was paid. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The way I would answer that, it depends on the seller. That's certainly a cleaner deal. It might be more appealing to the seller, and you might get a better price. If you've got a seller that doesn't care, often with a probate property, the person on the mortgage is deceased, so they may not care. The seller financing the terms are going to be more favorable to you. Are you going to keep the property? Or are you going to turn around and flip it?
I would probably flip it.
Yeah, if you're going to flip it, then first two options are pretty complicated. You would save a little bit on the short-term interest, and it depends on how many points your hard money lender is going to charge you. If your hard money lender is going to charge you 3 points, but maybe you can get 5% knocked off the price because it's a cleaner deal to the seller, that might make the most sense. The creative financing, in most cases, is going to make more sense if you're keeping the property. So if it was me, I probably would try to negotiate a slightly better price and just use hard money if you have access to it. It's just a simpler, cleaner way, and it'll probably be more appealing to the seller.
Okay, so for future reference, seller finance is typically done if we were planning on keeping it buy and hold type thing.
Yeah, kind of. Or for the most part, not always. Go ahead, Bruce.
I just made an offer recently, and I have hard money available, and I know that hard money is going to cost me 2 points up front and 12% interest over the year. Now, this is a flip property. So knowing that it was going to cost me 2 points right out of the gate and 12% over the year, I proposed to the owner, I'm going to make some numbers up here. These aren't my actual numbers, but I proposed to the owner that I'll offer you $185,000 cash closing in a month, and that's with the hard money that I'd be getting. Or I'll give you $190,000 if you would finance the property to me for up to 2 years at 7% interest. So I'm giving her the extra money. I was going to be paying that extra in points with a hard money lender anyway. So I'm giving her the extra, and then I know overall that she's looking at that amortization schedule with the accrued interest, and that's going to be a big determining factor. She's looking at all the interest that she'd earn over 2 years with if she owner financed to me, which is going to make her like $14,000 extra or more if she owner finances. The second thing that I proposed to her is that if you owner finance and if I sell it early and cut you out of all that interest, I'll give you a $5,000 prepayment penalty. Yeah, I'm essentially structuring it to her in a way that when I flip it, she'll make basically what the hard money lender would have made, and then I don't have to go through the loan and approval process. Now,
yeah, a lot depends on your. I was going to say a lot depends on your time frame too. I try to get in and out in one or 2 months. If it's going to be a 2-year deal, then yeah, that deal makes more sense. Go ahead, Bruce.
A lot of it depends on whether the mortgage can be paid off. There are ways to work that mortgage, but the owner has to be comfortable with the risk. You have to be comfortable with the risk, and the title company or the attorney needs to know how to set it up, and a lot of them just won't set it up. So that's one of the first people that you need to find if you're going to do deals like this is an attorney or a title company that knows how to structure a subject to deal and is comfortable doing it.
Okay.
All right. We appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Bruce, we have 2 more in the queue. Can you go a little bit over, or do you have another appointment?
No, I can go a little bit over. Probably only 10 minutes, though.
Okay. Next up is phone number ending in 3992. You're up next.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I haven't joined up yet or subscribed yet, but is there a sample of the Probate Plus information that is supplied if I choose to go with that? I don't know exactly what it provides in addition to the normal subscription.
Yeah, it's very complicated. I'm just kidding. Go to alltheleads.com. In the upper right-hand part of the page, click the little button that says Probate Plus Sample. It's right there. Okay. It's right on our main website. Yeah, and if you can have one of our salespeople walk out and just call you and give you the options of walk you through the process also if you have additional questions. Want me to have someone reach out to you?
I'd like to look at it first, so I should take time and do that. And I'm an experienced real estate party, but haven't entered the probate era. There was that second caller talked about a deed getting transferred from a management company. I think that was in the state of California. Was that the second caller?
I believe so, yes, sir.
I think so.
Okay. Some states have a transfer on death deed, and the person that's ill initially signs this deed, and upon death, that deed automatically transfers. And somebody like the management company could have gotten to that person, whether they know him or didn't know him or a relative or whatever, and had him sign that. And I think
that's a great point, yeah. I have property in West Virginia. We've already got that signed. So, yeah, you're right. There are some states that do that. Great point.
Yeah, and it seems like every deal is going to be a little different.
No doubt.
And you got to figure it out. But no deal seems to be just cut and dry. They all got something that you got to figure out. Is that right?
Probate is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. They're all just a little different. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thank
you. No, thank you for that input. You're exactly right. It's another reason why that gentleman should call and find out what's going on. Don't just make assumptions. Thank you. All right, last up this week is phone number ending in 3745. You're up last.
Hey, guys, thank you so much for squeezing me in. I know you guys are busy. We're already over time.
Sure.
I wanted to know what I can – we're just starting to get hit with so many objections, and it's all – we're just waiting. We keep hearing this over – like, we are hearing this more than we're hearing. We've got it covered at this point. So many people are telling us we're just waiting, or we've been told to wait, or we're not doing anything until we hear from the attorney. What kind of responses we're generally the first person through the door, So I'm always a little hesitant on being the first to go there and book an appointment and give them an offer, in which they usually shop it around. But it gives us the opportunity to provide relief and be a good support system to them with the resources that we offer. What can we say to combat that and let them know that, sure, you can wait till you hear these answers, but you don't have to wait to meet to sell the property?
Are you hearing that we're just waiting at the appointment or on the phone? It sounds like it's on the phone. On the phone. Okay.
On the phone.
Yep.
Yeah. They won't even meet with us because they're like, we've been told to wait.
I get that a lot too. And the weird thing is they'll tell me we're just waiting, and then they'll sell the house a month later to someone else that pushed a little bit more. Or like in Fed's case, caller number 2, we're just waiting. I'm not there yet, and then you find out that it sold 2 weeks ago. We're just waiting. Honestly, this kind of goes back to the objection validation that I do. I want to recognize it for what it is, and what it is. We're just not quite comfortable doing an appointment yet. We don't want to be sold, so they have this fear of being sold. So I'm usually just going to validate and then pivot right into that real estate question of once you guys get a little further into the process and your attorney gives you the go-ahead, were you thinking about selling, or are you leaning more toward keeping the property? At least get that answer, and I'm just going to use that to drag them a little bit further into an unthreatening conversation, where at that point I can make a proposal. Hey, you were just waiting. Just so we're on the same page when you are finished waiting, do you think I could swing by the property, take a quick glance at it so that I know what I'll be able to help with in the future? And they'll usually say yes, especially if you haven't asked them to meet you there. And then I say, would it be beneficial for you to meet me there, or should I just go? I'll leave the choice up to them. And at least that way I've gotten to see the property. And a lot of times they're going to say, I'll meet you there. I'll have my family member meet you there. And if they don't, it's no problem. I'm not here to push. I'm here to subconsciously guide them through different levels of relationship with me. And then I'm customarily going to go ahead and put on a single page, a letter of intent style page, I'm normally going to put a price range that I think I could get them for the house. And I'm going to send it to them because someone is going to get a number in front of them. And personally, I think it's whoever gets the number in front of them first is the most likely to get the deal.
Oh, man. They've been shopping I would definitely say we are the first people in the door to meet with them. We are. They are literally. I'm to the point now where I'm literally going to start telling my next appointments, when I come to give you an offer, it's good for that moment. If I leave and it's not signed, it's not valid anymore. And the downside is they don't care. They've got 15 more people, but they're shopping my offer every time, and I'm just getting beat out by 1,000, 2,000. And these other people are just making promises that are so absurd that I won't make because I can't I know what the numbers are, and I can't promise them the numbers that other people are giving them. So I'm always hesitant to be the first in the door, and they're taking my offer and shopping me every time.
In this case, I'm in the same type of market, man. If they give you an appointment, if you call them and they say, yeah, I'll meet you, come out to the house, we're going to sell, I can guarantee you they've told the same thing to 10 or 15 other people. So what I'm talking about are the people that are shutting you down, that are saying, we're just waiting, we're not ready yet, we're not meeting with anyone yet, putting an offer in front of them, because if they're saying that to you, that's what they're saying to everyone else. So this strategy probably doesn't work with the person that is volunteering an appointment with you. But it does work with the person that is not sitting on the fence. They're on the other side of the fence, on the we're waiting side of the fence. And if they're there for everybody else and your number has a higher likelihood of getting accepted because they're not giving anybody a meeting.
Okay.
If you're here for an appointment, then you probably go with your strategy.
Okay. So I would assume we're probably wrong, because we've attempted to ask a couple of different ways. Are you waiting on to be appointed by the courts? Are you waiting on the attorney to do something for you? And many times they don't know what they're waiting for, and the common responses we get is that's none of your business. So yeah, that's what a lot of people, that's what they've told me, is that it's none of your business what we're waiting on. Now to say, I'm not trying to pry, I'm trying to help, but without you telling me anything, I don't have anything I can provide for you. So yeah, it goes back to the old adage that nobody cares how much until they know how much you care, and we're really doing all we can to let them know that we're not just here for the house, but they are shutting us down so quick. But I will definitely use that and let you guys know how it works.
Sounds good.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you all for being here. Brings us to the conclusion of another call. I want to thank each of you for being here. I want to particularly thank those who actively participated. And I want to challenge each and every one of you, take one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share the results. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.